Hi, Tom Fuller, coach for Buckeye Cable and BCSN, and welcome into another edition of Sports Flash. And really an honor for me to have an opportunity to speak to just a great friend and a gentleman who's done amazing work in the Toledo sports community, Mr. Bob Eberly. Bob, welcome. And I want to talk about you're the executive director of the National Football Foundation, and I believe it's been 52 years of doing this, the event the National Football Foundation puts on. Tell us, for people that don't know, we always like to give them a little back pages. How did it come about? What are you doing? Who are you recognizing?
Well, Tom, this is, I think, the 52nd banquet. I've not been here for all 52.
Yeah, you're too young for that. Yeah.
I feel like it, though.
No.
It's a national organization based in Dallas. It was started by going way back with some outstanding people nationally. And this organization honors outstanding young men. I mean, we're talking the best of the best, Tom. We're talking about high school athletes here in the Toledo area.
High school football players.
High school football players. You must be an outstanding student. You must be an outstanding football player.
Do you have a grade point criteria?
You must be 3.2 or better.
Which is pretty gosh darn good.
Right. And then you must be all league or better.
Wow.
And then, Tom, I think the kicker that we ask is that you must be active in the community. We don't want a kid who's just a football player and happens to have good grades. We want the well-rounded individual. And this year we have 29 of these young men, and they're outstanding. Our GPA, I think, is over 3.6.
Wow.
7 or 8 of our kids are first team All-State. So we really have some kids, and the things they do outside the classroom, it simply amazes me.
Well, it's a humbling thing because I've been involved in those things when you're picking kids, and it's the hardest thing in the world to do, number one. But it's a humbling thing when you look at what these young kids have accomplished in a short period of time. You feel like a slacker when you start reading their bios and things because they're so good.
Absolutely, Tom. They're just amazing. And then you get to meet these kids up close and personal, and you look at them, and there's no shoulder pads, there's no jerseys,
right.
And you say, wow, this is the real deal. This is the real deal. We do something a little different in our chapter also that no one else in the country. There's chapters all over the country. There's 3 or 4 in Ohio. Every state in the union has one. We take our athletes out to the Toledo Hospital, the children's ward, and we have a game day type experience, like a bowl day.
Yes.
We have them bring their jersey. They wear them. We go out. We meet with some children that are disadvantaged, that obviously have had some illness, and let these young men who are healthy and
right.
the best of the best see the other side. Our speaker, Coach Campbell, will join us, and it's really a rewarding hour in these kids' lives.
You know, Coach Campbell, we've had the opportunity to talk with him, interview Coach, and of course do the Rocket Games on BCSN, and we were chatting off air. I don't know if there's a finer guy in football. I mean, you know, and you've been in this business for so long, the president of team sports, and you're the best at what you do, but you've gotten to rub elbows with all the big people at all different levels. And, you know, sometimes when the camera's on, they're one thing. When the camera's off, they're something else. And Matt Campbell's the kind of guy that when he's sitting there in front of you and you're thinking, you know, I go home and tell my wife, he's one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my life and a great family man. He is that. I mean, there's no on-off switch. That's who he is.
Tom, we've been really fortunate to have some quote-unquote big-name speakers come in. All of them gave of their time, great people. But when I asked Matt, Matt, what can we expect from you? What can you do? I know you're in spring ball, whatever.
Yes.
He said, no, Bob, what can I do for you? You tell me when. I want to do the whole 9 yards. I want to go to the hospital. I want to go speak. I want to meet these kids. You tell me. Wow, that's pretty special.
That's called class.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, you have he's a great guy. You have a Distinguished Citizen Award that's going to go to somebody that's near and dear to Buckeye Cable and the Blade, Mr. Joe Zerby, so that's very cool.
We're really excited. Joe, 4 or 5 years ago, we were trying to raise some money. Obviously, our end goal, besides honoring these young men, is to give some scholarships back. And, of course, that you have to raise some money.
Yes.
And very fortunate to have a good friend of mine introduce me to Joe. Joe said, what can I do to help? I said, well, you know, write a check.
Yeah.
And Joe and BCSN, and I can't thank you personally, Joe personally, for the support over the last 4 or 5 years. We're going to give $20,000 again this year to 8 or 9 deserving young men, and an awful lot of the credit goes to people like Joe Zerby. So we
cool.
felt we wanted to honor him. Just quality guy.
Knowing Joe, he'll be absolutely thrilled, and he's a great guy. There are a lot of other special awards. I know you're honoring some officials, which, Bob, you know, it's a pet peeve with me. We've chatted about it so many times. So very often people I hear, you know, commentators and people, you know, people on our network don't do it, but we have a rule on it. But, you know, they get on the officials and they harangue them, and here these guys and gals are out there giving of their time. The money they get paid is probably only gas money and a sandwich after the event. They're giving up 4 or 5 or 6 hours of their personal time. They're well-trained. They're well-schooled. Without them, we don't even have an integrity in the game, and people get on them. And I for the life of me, I can't understand it, but you're going to honor 2 great officials. Talk about that.
Well, first of all, we have honored, Tom, we have some of the head coaches that have been very successful the past season. We honor Bill Miller, who is an assistant coach for his long career at Whitmer High School. We have a junior league coach out of the Whitmer district, Ken Dubendorf. We honor all the coaches, but you think about it, you can't have a game without the guys
the officials. You don't have much going on.
The guys in the striped shirts have got to be there.
Yeah.
And we really are pleased. We're going to honor Bob Wagoner and Ken Coleman. Bob worked his 2nd Super Bowl this year.
That's incredible when you really think about that.
That's the 2nd Super Bowl that he's done. He's on TV, and I think he's pretty pleased. I don't think he blew any calls, so he's happy. And Ken has been around doing high school games, and we wanted to get the high school official also. So we're really excited to first time we've ever reached into that area of the game of football.
Well, I hope that you continue to do it year after year, because we see it on BCSN. We do 1,000 events a year, Bob, and we do more games than anybody around. And we see it night after night after night, these men and women that go out there and officiate and run events for the high schools and the kids are incredible. And even down to the grade school level and the CYO and the young kids that kind of cut their chops on officiating down there, and they've got some guy in the sideline berating a 16-year-old kid who's doing a great job, by the way. I used to always tell them when I was coaching, I never ever in my life said anything to official, because I knew I was going to make a lot more mistakes during the game than they were, dumb calls, and you learn. But and Bob, again, Seagate Center,
right.
March 16th. Give me the time.
Can I?
Yeah.
So we also have a Tim Burda Courage Award, which is really maybe our neatest award.
Well, give the people the history on Tim Burda, because I've been fortunate enough to interview Tim, and it's an incredible experience.
Tim is an interesting young man. He came out of Ida High School. He was honored by our group as a National Football Foundation Scholar Athlete. The next year he came back and was awarded a scholarship, went to Bluffton High School, played baseball and football. Unfortunately, he was on that bus that fateful night in Atlanta when it went off the road. Tim was the most seriously injured athlete who lived. Tim is 30 years old. He's going to graduate from Lord's College this year. So we have named this award in his honor. He will be there. He'll present it. We've had some we try to honor a young man who is exemplified courage on the football field, not necessarily the best player. Maybe he doesn't even play. Maybe he's just a manager suffering with whatever. This year's candidate is Brendan Seifert. He's from Eastwood. His father suffered from cancer, died the day after the last game, watched his son score 2 touchdowns the last game, and then passed away from cancer the next day.
Wow. Well, Bob, I'll tell you, on March 16th, Seagate Center, 6:30?
6:30.
Okay. Right. I've been privileged to be at an awful lot of them, and you and your committee and your staff should be commended for an incredible job. It's a great night, and it's just a wonderful thing to be involved with. You're giving back, you're changing kids' lives and honoring kids that are doing the right thing in the community and in their schools. So on behalf of Buckeye Cable and BCSN, Bob, we want to thank you so much.
Well, Tom, thank you very much. We appreciate all your support.
All right, Bob, thanks. Tom Cole, the coach for Buckeye Cable and BCSN.